Hey everybody, welcome back to Contest Prep University. Joe Klemczewski and Adam Atkinson, episode 4 in our series, How to Win Bikini, talking about peak week. And that just reminds me, I've got to do my peak week for my clients for next week, rolling into the end of the season here. But gosh, I don't know. I mean, this is something we talk about so often when it comes to bikini competitors specifically. If there's anything that we can pull out that is just absolutely specialized to them, my first toss into the ring here, Adam, would be you don't always need a lot of fullness. You're not necessarily trying to maximize that. It's, as you typically like to say, it just depends on your physique, your body. How are you going to match up against potential or even known competitors? So maybe need to pull back a little bit because you're flirting with being too muscular, or maybe you do need that extra fullness. But we have so many tools in our toolbox in terms of what we can do for clients during peak week. When you have that mindset for bikini competitors, are there commonalities that you pick out that are different from other divisions?
I think for bikini, it's almost said best to have the look you want prior and just be able to fine tune that in, almost not even peeking into the show. I mean, obviously, you're going to try relax and get cardio down, maybe move food up a little bit. But if you're sitting right where you want to sit a week out, why change a whole lot of variables? I think that's where a lot of people go wrong in bikini. And just because you have a peak week doesn't mean that you have to raise food a ton or even overfeed your clients. So peak week's always about how you look versus you how much you eat. And I think a lot of coaches miss the ball on that because I see it all the time where I'm watching other girls on social media. I'm worried about them. And you have to go to their Instagram on show day to see if that's actually them because they look so horribly different than they did the week out. So, I see a lot of that. So I do think that bikini, if someone's on the very ectomorphic side, you're obviously going to do a pretty aggressive load. But if they're on the bigger side, you can usually just kind of tailor and fine tune them in, even if they're fitting right in the middle. You if you're happy with how they look, you don't necessarily have to be married to changing a whole lot that week.
I love that perspective, and it reminds me I had a couple clients competing in the last week. And when we get into peak weeks and you're having these conversations, here's my proposal. This is my first draft. What do you think? I always seem to have to frame that as in, like, I know it doesn't look super, super exciting. It's not like we're doing 50 billion% increases here, there, or these wild swings. But especially for bikini, the goal is, like you said, to just dial it in. And in both of these particular competitors, because they really high stakes. I mean, these were gamers, great physiques, going for the next level. And I had to adjust a little bit differently than intended. For both of them, I had to go up, up, up in carbs, not like a backload, but one of them even commented, like, this was the greatest peak week I've ever done. Like, I've never worked with Joe before, but I've never had such steady progressive increases in carbs. And I wanted to say that's not normal for everybody, but it was because your weight was actually coming down, 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 and we had to keep moving food up just to make sure we had that subtle consistency and we weren't creating any wild swings in either direction. So, depending on your approach, it still comes down to that individual person and how they are reacting during peak week. But I agree. You're not going to see too much crazy stuff for bikini competitors if you're doing it right.
Yeah. If you're ahead in the race, before peak week, you can kind of almost take that victory lap, so to speak, already and kind of chill on your way in.
The one exception you noted, which I think is very appropriate, is an ectomorph. Because even in bikini, you can have somebody that could err on the side of being too cautious, and all of a sudden they're too flat, maybe they're too lean, and you can't really rectify that very well on contest day. That's the amount of carbs that you had to roll the dice on, perhaps on Thursday or Friday if the contest is Saturday. So another reason, especially for bikini competitors with different phenotypes, to know exactly what your tendency is. and be thinking a day or two in advance. What am I doing today? Because I might not have a chance to make many changes tomorrow or the next day.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Well, we're going to wrap this up in the next episode talking about contest day. So making some of those changes that you can successfully create change in and around. So we will see you next time in Contest Prep University.